Hey y'all, welcome back. Come on in. So, I wanted to share today that this interesting stat that I found. I found that about 87% of people who are struggling in their career in any way, shape, or form are heavily experiencing self doubt and have no idea how to build their confidence back up. I have good news and I have bad news. The bad news is that if you are breathing, you have experienced self doubt. You might be experiencing it right now. And it really ramps up when it comes to figuring out how to keep the lights on, how to keep a roof over your head, and figuring out how you're going to put food on the table, right? It really ramps up. And that's why that statistic is so high about people struggling in their career, why self doubt really takes over. The good news is that by the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to eliminate your self doubt and how to build your confidence. The thing about building confidence is that you have to do it over and over and over again. It's not something that you do one time and you never have to deal with the problem again. So I'm making it my duty to help people learn how to build their confidence using a rule that I created. So this video is for you if you can't find a job, if you feel stuck in your job, or you feel like you never have enough money, even though you're always working. This video is for you because I'm going to help you figure out how to get rid of self-doubt and how to use confidence to help you navigate all of those situations. So first, let's talk about what are some signs that you are actually struggling with self-doubt and that it is affecting your career. The number one way I can tell that you're struggling with self-doubt is if you are in a state of inaction. So this looks like seeing jobs that you love to do, but you don't apply, scrolling right on by recruiters who are posting open roles, but you don't leave a comment, you don't send them a DM, letting them know that you are perfect for the job. That's what a state of inaction looks like. Another way I can tell is if you engage in negative self-talk. Negative self-talk looks like telling yourself you're not as talented as your peers, telling yourself that other people deserve the success and you don't, telling yourself that other people have things because they're lucky and you're not. That's negative self-talk, and that's a huge red flag. The third way is that you avoid failure. And so that means you're not going to ask your boss for promotion. You're not going to ask for a salary increase because you don't know what to say. Like you're afraid that I'm going to say the wrong thing. It's going to make it nearly impossible for me to get what I'm asking for. Or you're waiting until you have the perfect script, the perfect person, the perfect timing to do something. All of these is really just your self-doubt on display. And it's easy to hide because often nobody knows what's going on but you. And so you really don't have anybody to answer to. But today I'm snatching your edges back and making you answer to yourself. So these three behaviors that I just talked about that put your self-doubt on display, this is also why you feel like an imposter at work. These behaviors send your imposter syndrome through the roof. And this is because if you have a desire and you're not taking action on it, if you don't even believe in yourself that you can do something, if you think that if I try, I know I might fail, if you're saying things to yourself like, I must not be worthy or deserving, clearly that adds up to I'm an imposter and I hope no one finds out these things about me. Like, right? Like, how did I get this job? How did I get anything that I have? Because clearly I don't deserve any of it. If you stay to the end, I'm sharing my own very personal struggle that I had with self-doubt just recently for a big scary announcement that I wanted to make. So I'm going to be sharing at the end. And so there's really only one way to overcome self-doubt and feeling like an imposter. And that is by doing the work to become more confident. So I shared in an earlier video that you can't do anything without confidence, right? There's no point in watching these YouTube videos, in hiring a coach, in working on your resume a million times. There's no point in doing any of that if you don't have the confidence that you need to actually take action on these things that you want. And I found that most people don't even know what confidence is. Most people think it's, reading affirmations, saying affirmations every morning, or, quote unquote, believing in yourself. Like just a lot of these statements that don't really tell people what to do. And I know for me, like if I'm trying to figure out or resolve a problem and somebody just says some fluff answer, it's like, no, I need the steps. I need the action steps so that I can get through this. So we talked about confidence being your ability to take action. Don't get that confused with what most people consider confidence to be, which is setting ambitious goals, excessive self promotion, or being loud, being an extrovert. Those things do not necessarily add up to confidence. Your confidence is specifically measured by your ability to take action. So, if these fluffy statements don't help people build confidence, let's talk about what will. And so, first, we need to understand what stands in your way of being very confident. And these are different for everybody. Everybody has their own obstacles to confidence that they're facing. And that's why, just saying an affirmation every morning won't help you. So, first, there's fear. And fear is, what are you worried about? What's worrying you? Like when you set a goal, what's the first negative thought that comes into your mind? Like that's what you fear. Secondly, what are the stories and the excuses? Like, what are you telling yourself that's causing you to doubt yourself and that is causing you not to take action? And I'm going to get into some specific examples here in a second. When your stories and your excuses are taking over, you want to ask yourself, why haven't you done the thing? And what is in your way? And then the last obstacle to confidence is desperation. You want to ask yourself, why do I have to have this thing right now? So now that we know what confidence is and what's standing in your way of being confident, here's my signature method for building confidence. I call it the self-confidence rule of 3. So a little background on the rule of 3. I am a self-help junkie. I've read dozens and dozens and dozens of books about how to be a better person. And I found some trends. A lot of these books are talking about the same things, packaging and labeling them as different terms, but they're all talking about the same things. And so when I was trying to figure out how am I going to teach people how to build their confidence, I went back to those books. I went to my personal experience. I went to the experience I had as a career coach, and I found some trends, and that's how I came up with my rule of 3. So when you talk about fear, these are my books that help me get over or teaching about fear. Getting to Yes. There's Set Boundaries and Find Peace, which is one of my favorites. These books are talking about how to get over your fears. Then when we're talking about our stories that we're telling ourselves and our excuses, there is Think and Grow Rich, and there is You Are a Badass. These are some of my favorite books. I've read them multiple times. And then excuses, you have Rejection Proof. And then you have Why the Rich Are Getting Richer. All of these books can walk you through step by step how to get over your fears, how to stop telling yourself stories, and how to not be desperate. So when I took what I learned from those books, and then I took everything I learned, when I'm working with clients, they're telling me, I hear all of their fears, all of their stories, all of the desperation. It just comes running on out, right? So I'm like, all of my clients are dealing with these things. And then even personally, I thought about it. It's like whenever I'm really struggling with something, I can always boil it back to one of those things. It's fear, it's desperation, it's a story that I'm telling myself. So I knew that was key. The second part of the rule is based on actions. And so what have you done? A lot of people are lacking in confidence because they feel like they haven't done anything or they can't articulate what they have done. And so I knew that had to be a part of the rule as well. How can we use our past actions to validate our future? And then the last piece is, what will you do when things don't go according to plan? And that's key to being confident, because if you walk into something and you feel like failing at this thing is going to be the worst, you've already taken yourself out the game. But if you walk in thinking I might fail, and this is what I'm going to do about it, that's a position of power. So I figured if I wrapped all these up into one rule that people could use over and over and over again, there'd be more confidence, there'd be more action, there'd be less stagnation, and less self-doubt. So let me give you some examples about how the rule works. So the first step in the self-confidence rule of 3 is, first you have to remove the 3 barriers to confidence. And so we talked about fear, stories and excuses, and desperation. And so I shared previously how I just had got really bored with my content, like the content that I was sharing as a career coach, all that whole thing. I got really bored with it. And so I've been spending a lot of time trying to figure out where I wanted to take things next, what I wanted to focus on. And I decided last week that I wanted to share my journey with my audience, right? I wanted to no longer just be the person who had all the answers and, sitting high up on the podium. Like, I realized that in order for creating content to be fun again, I needed to be creating content around something that I was actually doing. And so I decided I wanted to share my story. And so I updated my LinkedIn profile with what I'm actually working on. And it was scary. It was scary. As you can see, I've put it out to the world that I want to build my monthly income to 50K. And I don't want to stress myself out to do it. I only want to do it in 1 hour per day. So back to the fear. The fear that I had about updating my LinkedIn profile with such a personal and ambitious goal, the first thing that came to my mind is, what are employers going to think? So I tamed that fear by really thinking to myself, LinkedIn is full of people who are on some sort of journey. And if I come across an employer that doesn't want me to be on my own personal journey, then I probably don't want to work there. And so I had to let that fear go, right? I wrote it down. I came up with some what if scenarios. And usually, once you get the thought and you get the fear out of your head and on the paper, you realize it's not that big of a deal. So that was my fear. Some of the stories I was telling myself is that if I claim this goal, like, will people start counting my money? Like, are people going to be watching and waiting for me to fail? Like, is this even a safe goal to put out there publicly? Would I be putting myself in harm's way? And all of that is in my head, right? None of those are truths. And that's how you know if it's a story that you're making up. Like, you have no evidence that this is actually going to happen. It's just a thought that your brain has come up with to try to protect you from doing something, new and outside of your comfort zone. And then my desperation, right? Fortunately, I worked through my desperation last year when I was feverishly trying to build my coaching business to a 6-figure business. So I worked through that last year, that I'm not in a rush. And that's the other reason why I claimed 1 hour per day, right? I'm not in a rush. I'm not trying to do it in 12 months. I'm not trying to make some sexy headline for Forbes magazine. All that will come. I just need to stay on track. And so again, wrote it down. What are you really trying to do here? I'm trying to create business, portfolio, and passive income that won't require me to kill myself to get it. So I'm not looking to be an overnight success. So there is no desperation. So that was step 1 for the rule of 3. The second step for the self-confidence rule of 3 is identifying 3 examples from your past that validate your ability to achieve the goal. So let's say you're looking for a job and you can't even explain to yourself 3 examples of why you'd be a great candidate. I want you to stop the search. I want you to stop right now, because you're really wasting your time if you can't come up with 3 solid reasons, right? If you can't come up with 3 solid pieces of evidence, you're not going to get through an interview. You're not going to convince somebody else. Coming up with those 3 pieces of evidence, it builds your confidence and builds your faith that you can accomplish the goal. So when I tied that back into my goal, here's what I came up with. I built a rental real estate business from dust, and it's paid my mortgage for the last 4 years. I've been in the high 6-figure salary range for the last 10 years. And so I had to really think to myself, if somebody in corporate is willing to pay me that, clearly I'm worth that on my own. I'm worth 4 to 10 times that on my own, right? So that, doing the math, like doing the work, you can logically lead yourself to a more confident state. It's like, I could just sit here and tell myself that I can't do it. It's too big. It's too hard. Or I could look back at what I've done and prove it to myself that no, you're a badass. And then it's like, there are entrepreneurs that have less education than me, less experience than me, and they are doing it. So if they can do it, I know I can do it. The third thing you're going to do in the self-confidence rule of 3 to boost your confidence is you're going to identify 3 actions that you will take if you fail. And this one trips people up. A lot of people don't take action because they are afraid to fail. But if you already have a game plan for what I'm going to do if I fail, then you're no longer afraid to fail. You just do it. And it's like I already have my next 2 steps ahead of me. And this is how you get to the point where life doesn't stop at failure, right? You fail, you quote unquote fail, you learn, you pick yourself up, and then you go try something else. I might actually fail to get to 50K per month. It definitely won't stop me from trying, right? I mean, what if I get to 30? And what if I get to 40? It was worth the try. And it's still one heck of an accomplishment. The 3 actions I came up with for if I fail to make the 50K is I can always keep working. I have proven that I can get a job over and over again. So I can always keep working. I can simply just change my bio and move on. Like people aren't watching me as closely as I think anyway. So that's not a concern about what other people are going to think if I fail. Secondly, I can look for a community or a coach. So if I'm trying to reach that goal and I don't feel like it's happening, I can go look for help. I can go find other people who have already done it and go back to the drawing board and reassess how I'm going about it. If you're dealing with self-doubt and you've gone through the rule of 3, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to take action. Because after you go through that rule of 3, your chest should be puffed out, right? You should be feeling yourself. And think about it, like when you're feeling good and you're looking good, you're more likely to step outside of your comfort zone and do something that you wouldn't normally do. So that's the secret. We want to make ourselves feel empowered and feel good about ourselves and actually believe, like we're not just telling ourselves that we believe in ourselves. We just came up with a whole page of evidence about why we should feel good about ourselves. And that's what people are not doing. They're stuck in their heads. But to build your confidence, you need to get out of your head. You need to put your crazy thoughts down on paper. And when you read them, you're like, that is not true. Why am I letting this circle around in my head? So for me, after I went through the exercise, and as you can see, I changed my LinkedIn profile and I'm ready to launch into that goal. It's fun. I'm excited about it. I want to take you guys on the journey. I do want to know down in the comments though, what do you want to know about my journey to a monthly income of 50K? Let me know down in the comments because I want to make sure I'm creating videos that are valuable to you guys. And I want to make sure I'm getting your questions answered. And it's important to note that the self-confidence rule of 3, it can be applied anywhere. If you're looking for a job, if you want to level up in your career, if you wanted to bring on new sources of income, you want to improve your income, you would just want to do something different with your life, I'm willing to bet you money that the thing that makes you feel stuck is your self-doubt. So I want you to come back to this video over and over and over again when you are feeling stuck, because I want it to be a resource for you to assess, where am I at? What do I want to do? Why am I not taking action? I'm not taking action because of one of those things: my fear, my story, my excuses, or my desperation. Those are the reasons you're not taking action. And confident people always take action. And I know you guys can do it too. Until next time, bye.